Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Dhena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah.
So today we had an opportunity to follow in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates as they would go out from town to town and door to door meet people in their homes and offer them the opportunity to chant Hare Krishna, take Krishna literature and so forth. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to send his closest associates out, including Vaitacharya, Nanda, Haridas Thakur, and they would go to people's homes. They had 3 messages that Mahaprabhu asked them to impart to the people they met. Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Koro Krishna Shika. So they're begging people, please chant Hare Krishna. Because just by chanting Hare Krishna, one can become perfect. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in his Sharanagati, in the last bhajan, an account of how through the perfectional stage of chanting Hare Krishna, the Lord comes and takes him by the hand. In fact, he says the holy name personified. Because there's no difference between the holy name and Krishna. And he leads him back home, back to the spiritual world, and introduces him to his relationship with Krishna. This is very solid evidence from our acharyas that the process of chanting Hare Krishna is sufficient for perfection. It's also Nikila Shruti Mali Ratnamala Duti Nirajita Pada Pankajanta Ayamukta Kalera Pasyamanam Paritastam Harinam Samshrayami. Rupa Goswami writes in his Namashtakam, Nikila Shruti, if you look through all the Shrutis, actually he puts it more poetically. He says, the crown jewel of all the Shrutis is the Upanishads. And the Upanishads are getting together every morning for Mangal Artik, personified Upanishads. And they're performing Artik to the tips of the toes of the holy name. So, in other words, all the Vedas, the Upanishads, they're all pointing to the holy name. It's Paramakshara Krite, which means the supreme combination of syllables. So if anyone chants Hare Krishna, the Srimad Bhagavatam says that Apana samsritim gauranya nama vivashogranan tata sadyo vimuccheta yad vibheti swayam bhayam. One is directly in contact with Krishna. And therefore, one becomes purified by that process. So this is an instruction or a request that anyone can make to others, whether they know or do not know the process. If they take it up, the chanting of Hare Krishna, then they'll find themselves lifted through the process, above the modes of material nature. Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, then worship Krishna. The Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam all describe in detail what does God mean? What is the definition of God? That from whom everything emanates, Janmadya Sayataha. Also, that there are various aspects of the Supreme, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. But the origin of all of them is Bhagavan. Even in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that I'm the origin of the Brahman effulgence, what to speak of the Paramatma feature of the Lord. And therefore, the summum bonum, or the ultimate object of worship, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have a relationship with Him eternally. And when we turn our attention towards Him, then we have perfection in life. Otherwise, we're misaligned, and it's a frustrating experience, to say the least. Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Koro Krishna Shika. So he said, then take Krishna's instruction. And especially in the Bhagavad Gita, those who read Bhagavad Gita, it's so commonsensical. The way Krishna presents also, as Sri Dayananda Maharaj likes to say, Krishna is not a religious fanatic. So as he's presenting the philosophy of Krishna consciousness in the Bhagavad Gita, he's actually giving the various options that we have. But at the end, he tells Arjuna, yatechasi tata kuru. Or as some people say, yatechasi tata kuru. Now do what you wish to do. This is Krishna's mercy. He gives free will. He gives perfect instruction, but then he said it's up to you if you want to follow it or not. So today we went to various places around Dallas. We had a seminar last night, for those of you who are just joining us. And then this morning we also had a seminar down in the activity room. Okay, it's not the situation room. That's somewhere else. And we talked together, we discussed different ways in which one could be effective in meeting people, presenting literature. And then we all went out with the objective of seeing if we could make it from one spot to the next without incident. Touch the pavement and then we're done for the day. But we did more than that, I'm sure, because at least in our team, our two teams, we met a lot of people and presented transcendental literature. We got some amazing reactions, and it's always a new life's experience going out for book distribution. So we want to take a little time before we chant to discuss some of the realizations that you had, or some of the things that happened to you today when you went out for book distribution. Would any of you be willing to share your experience from today? It doesn't have to be extensive, but if you have something in mind, okay, Naimisharanya Prabhu will start us off.
Right. So we were on the Srimad Bhagavatam sets team, and it was a very nice experience because we haven't done door to door here in Dallas. Our Bhagavatam sets were all at Bhadra Purnima last year, and we did about 65. So this year, this was one of our prime goals, to try to do sets door to door. And we got to go with Maharaj. And it became so apparent as we started going from door to door that all we're doing is just glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam. And again, it was books on their own merit. And it so happened that we actually went into a house. Somebody actually invited us.
Oh.
And we spoke to them. And it was a very nice connection. And we were able to leave them with a good impression. And this whole experience has taught us that it's not difficult, it's a lot of fun, it's easy, and we have a lot of motivation to go out now. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I didn't know it was the first time doing door-to-door of sets. It was fun, a lot of fun. Okay, who else wants to share?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I wanted to reflect that one of the devotees whom we had spoken to in the seminar before we went out and touched the pavement, she made a very nice realization that get out of your comfort zone to comfort others.
Hmm.
And sometimes we feel like we're going into someone else's bubble, or we feel like our bubble is kind of just hovering around us and we don't want to go outside of that zone. But I was just reflecting that it was really refreshing to get out there and meet new people and see their reaction to the books. So I wanted to thank you for that experience.
You're welcome. And the more specific you can be when you're describing your experience, for instance, although you make a general comment about what it was like, if you remember anything specific, it becomes infinitely more interesting as well. Yes?
Hare Krishna. So we went door to door at the apartment complexes, and to my amazement, it was like 99% Indian bodies. And the first door I knocked on, I gave him the spiel, and to no avail, absolutely no avail. And so after that, we told them essentially that we're just fundraising for the temple, really genuine. extremely sincere, you know, us Western bodies really embracing the Vedic culture. And it felt, you know, it was ecstatic relating to these Indian bodies in that way, you know, and so like we had a mutual understanding there, and it was just great receiving donations, which was mostly what we received today. So, yeah.
Okay, so you tried it both ways.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, and the other way worked.
Absolutely.
Did you give them books afterwards?
One of them, yes, we gave him a book after he donated for he and his daughter.
Good for you. Congratulations. Well done. Hare Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna. One of my realizations and the favorite moments today was going out on Sankirtan into the Vietnamese and the Asian markets. And it was the first time I have ever been there, and in any place that I've been in a predominantly Asian area, distributing books like that. And one of my highlights was there was an elderly Japanese gentleman who I think Prabhu you stopped, and for those of you who may not know, Vaisesika Prabhu speaks very fluent Japanese, and the minute Prabhu started speaking, his face lit up. Like it was just glowing all the way. And he had a huge smile, and that smile just didn't go away throughout the entire conversation. And then when you were introducing each of us, as you know, they're from India, they're from Philippines, they're from Mexico, like his face just was like all international, like you could see he was so excited. And I was thinking that this is the power Sankirtan has. Like he was just on the parking lot thinking his day was going to be ordinary, and just by meeting devotees, his day became extraordinary. And it was just, it was very powerful to see the importance of having language cards and the importance of connecting to somebody at a language they're comfortable in versus what we're comfortable in. That was a big thing for me personally. So thank you so much for that.
Chai. Yeah, there was a lot today about languages. You don't have to be fluent in a language to touch somebody's heart. You just need a few words and know how to interact with them, especially. Dr. Blake. And everyone move up just a little more. Just come in, because there's more devotees coming in the door, and the closer you are, the better. Thank you.
So we went out to an apartment complex here, to the temple here. A few of us, it was maybe a last minute arrangement that was approved, but pretty sure it was approved. And we did all right. We knocked on some doors. It was Western-bodied people, so as far as having the success of door knocking, I've heard that that's easier with Indian-bodied people. So it was a challenge. But we had some people take some books, and we got a good hour and a half in, and then we met a cop on a horse in an apartment complex.
That's new.
It was actually a really far out thing.
Howdy.
So, a policewoman, she had seen our other team. We had 2 people, and she approached us, one of the devotees in our team, from kind of around the corner, and he kind of had his books tucked behind him, and his initial reaction was to say, no, we're not going door to door. I felt like we're caught, I felt like probably it's better just to be honest in this situation. So I went over and poked out from around the corner, I just said, yeah, we've been going door to door, and is there a problem with that? And then, of course, she said, yes, there's a problem. And then she escorted us off the property, which was interesting, having a horse cop follow you for a good 5-10 minutes. We were still distributing books and cards while she was gone. But I was just curious if you could give us some insight on something like that. Should we try to kind of cover the fact that we're distributing books? Should we be honest? What's the...
Yeah, just be honest. Generally, the people don't mind if you go door to door. Every once in a while, if someone asks you to leave, then just be really polite and comply. That's my advice. Yes.
So, aside from getting kicked out by a cop,
Were you there too?
I was there. And luckily, I was in the first group when we had kids with us, so.
That helps, right?
She didn't kick us out, we just lied and walked out. But the last seminar is that I learned the importance of book distribution. And this one, I learned the importance of cultivating science for yourself, because I find fear of trying to teach people.
Yeah. That's a good point. It's a really good point, and that's why I mentioned being honest. In your presentation, if you're really straightforward with people, then it's disarming because people aren't used to that, actually, being really straightforward and explaining everything. Yes, Prabhu?
Thank you. I also went to door to door in the apartments. I think it was Plano or Plano.
Plano.
And I had I think a profound experience with the last person that we interacted with. I think that I actually experienced making someone feel special. Actually, Dr. Doug was doing it. We were kind of taking turns, and it was his turn. And we were just doing the basic template the best we could of distributing Gita on its own merit. And from the very beginning, you don't seem stressful, what's your secret? And when we heard the secret, we were like, oh, wow. But we were really feeling it, though. And especially later in the presentation, when we asked him what karma meant to him, and he gave his answer. Dr. Doug was asking him, and I was getting ready to react like whatever he says is going to be really amazing. And he gave an answer I couldn't repeat. And I think Doug also was on the same page. And when he said it, we both were like, whoa. And when we did that, his face lit up, and I could feel like just pure joy coming from him, and I felt it was amazing.
So what was the end? Was he able to take a book?
Yeah, he took Gita.
He took a Gita.
But he didn't have any means to pay for it, not even a card, but he really wanted it. And so we gave it to him.
Nice.
And it felt really good.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yes, Prabhu.
Thanks so much.
Hare Krishna.
So we went to distribute for the first time the Farsi books, and then the Farsi and then Arabic books.
Oh yeah.
So we didn't take the permission before. We should have before. So we went, and then we saw that there was not much of crowd there. So we thought, okay, we'll just stand in here and see if anybody comes to approach them. So we started. We are very nervous because we never did that, and then we don't know how to speak to them. And then, we didn't know the approach. So, but we started, we just thought of some of these points you have given us in the class. And, take some challenge, not just come out of your comfort zone and all. So, we tried, we gave her 2 books. And after that, the owner came out and then said,
You distributed 2 Arabic books.
Yeah.
Probably. I was recently on a conference call, a BBT conference call, and one of the BBT trustees we were discussing with some devotees about the importance of distributing Arabic books. Actually, the trustee who was on is in charge of printing the Arabic books. And he was recalling a interaction he had with Srila Prabhupada in the 70s when Prabhupada said that anyone who goes and distributes these books, like Arabic books, Middle Eastern, these types of things, he said, I take the dust from their feet and I put it on my head. He was emphasizing so much how much he appreciated, taking risks and going to places that seemed impenetrable normally, and so extra credit. Yes?
We went to the Asia Fest in Plano. They have a lot of other Asian cultures there, martial arts, but there was a dance happening that was about Krishna, and the dancer was talking the story about Putana and all of that while we were distributing books, so that was pretty cool. Anyway, distributed a book to a Hispanic gentleman and his wife. They were from El Salvador, and as soon as they saw a book in Spanish, their eyes lit up. They were like, wow. Apparently his friend is a devotee in El Salvador, and he totally was soaking up all the goodies that she gave this morning. It was really good to focus on not selling the book, not giving too much heavy philosophy, and trying to keep it very casual and making jokes. That was really, I've never done that. I mean, sparingly, but it was a very fun interaction, and he really enjoyed it. And they bought 2 books, Bhagavad Gita and A Science of Self-Realization, both in Spanish.
Fantastic. How do you
I was just pleasantly surprised how easy it was using the language cards. We're in the Vietnamese strip mall, and at first I thought, like, all right, this isn't like, it's like the last place I'd expect to like do really big with books, but I just went store to store. I went to a Korean nail salon, and she was like, "Oh, I don't speak any English," so then I just handed her the Korean book, and I just literally just gave her the language card and just stood there, and she like slowly read it. And she just like popped open the register and made me like, oh, that's cool. And then I was like, all right, that works. I was like, all right, that worked one time, but let's see if it happens again. And then we went over, and it happened again and again. And I was just so surprised by how well that worked. So.
Yeah, like I said this morning, distributing foreign books without knowing how to speak the language is actually easier than interacting in a language that you know. Because it's very straightforward. You give it, and they know you know that they know what it means. And it's either yes or no. It's linear at that point. Yeah, very well done. Thank you for the report. Anything else? Yes.
I was also at the Vietnamese, and one realization I made was how far a smile and body language can go. I was in the parking lot, and there was this Vietnamese gentleman sitting at a restaurant, and I had smiled at him for like 2 seconds, and I looked away. And as I looked up, he started approaching me. He was kind enough to just give me a donation right then and there, and he wouldn't take the book or anything, but he was just so kind, and every time I kept saying, you should really take this book, and he just kept giving me more donations, and he was nice enough to invite me to eat at his restaurant. It was just something I've never experienced before.
Well, it is overwhelming. You see how people actually really appreciate when they see somebody volunteering to do something good in the world, and they're attracted to it. And it's sometimes surprising because in one's mind it's easy enough to think that it's going to be challenging and people won't be interested and so forth, but it's quite the opposite. Actually, living entities are quite fascinated with all kinds of knowledge and presentations. And even when they're pretending not to be, you can tell that they wish they were able to break out of it and take it. Some of the doors that we went to originally, and we spent time, one thing I noticed is the less pressure I put on people, the more pressure they felt on themselves. The more I backed off and made it completely their choice, the more I saw that they gave self-pressure. It's an interesting principle to learn, that the power is really in letting people have their own choice, presenting it clearly, framing it for them, what's at stake and what you could have and so forth, but not pressuring them into it. And we saw a lot of people kind of just spontaneously then want to donate. And I've seen it before too, where people they say no, and then we just completely back off, and then they'll chase us down the street like, no, I changed my mind. It's an interesting kind of energy. But that's one thing about going out and interacting for the purpose of distributing books, is you learn a lot about not just human nature, but the way that the way the modes are working, and also the basic principles of how people are motivated. And it's extremely valuable to be able to see that and appreciate it. Also, I think coming from the temple environment, and an environment where the devotees are, chanting, hearing, a very sattvic environment, and when you open doors, you feel sort of the burdensome nature of a lot of the lifestyles just wafting out the door. And you can actually feel some compassion that people are kind of locked in there. But then after the book goes in and the door closes, it's like, I always remember these war movies I used to see as a kid on TV where the soldier would be shimmying up the ridge, and then he'd get to the bunker, and there were machine gunners out there, and somehow or other he'd pull the pin and throw a hand grenade inside the bunker, and then all of a sudden, boom. And I always feel like the book's like that. Once it goes inside the door and the door closes, I'm walking down the street and boom. There's a spiritual explosion inside. It's quite satisfying. Any other thoughts, realizations from the day? Hare Krishna.
So we were 4 people, yoga, myself and Mataji and another people. When we went to visit the store, it was busy eating the store, I would say Saturday.
Which store you went to?
Patel Brothers.
Patel?
Yeah, Indian grocery store.
Okay.
It was super busy. We had a lot of people.
You had a table? Table?
Table,
huh?
Table, yeah. So initial 5 minutes, I was like, people were making, they were trying to, pass away. They were trying to hide their, not doing the eye contact, so that then Mataji came up with the of Prashad, and somehow, like you said, show them the book. So that's what we realized. I think the number of people who showed the book, 90% people took on, maybe 95%. So that was good thing. If you are able to show them or bring them to the table somehow, handle the book, it was good. Yeah, and there was a lot of mercy, I think. There was a lot of Prabhupada mercy today, and your person was. Thank you.
Jai. Hare Krishna.
I wasn't able to go out today, but I'll be going tomorrow.
Yay!
And but I was in the temple room here, and if I could share something, a few things that happened. I was reframing my Guru Maharaj picture, which the frame had broken, and this couple came into the room, and I asked them if they'd been here before. And this man said, oh yes, many times, but this other woman, her name was Aura, she'd never been here before. And they were just enamored by everything. And as I talked with this man, he was going to the Peshwa paintings that they loved. They had seen them in the museum here prior. And as we talked, his name was, he told me his name was Bob Bond. And he had gone to the University of Krishna Maharaj at SMU. So I asked him, do you have Prabhupada's books? You've read the books, you've read Bhagavad Gita? He said, oh yes, I have these books. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So many times people come into the temple room, and we were trained by Maharaj to do tours. So it's an opportunity to meet with people and then bring them out to the books, and then take books and give donations. So that's very nice.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, it's such a safe and interesting environment that people can come into, and then it feels quite natural to have a book table there. I saw that a couple of devotees in Brooklyn 2 days ago just put up a book table right outside the temple, near the Brooklyn Temple, and they were doing quite well. And any place that you can find a little niche and set up a table, you'll find that you'll meet people who are interested to come by, especially if it's near a temple, because if they're coming in and out, you can't assume that they actually have them or know about it. Yeah. Well, congratulations to everybody for successfully executing the mission of going out, touching the pavement. Did any of you take a photo of your group touching the pavement? Are those on WhatsApp? Did everybody put your picture on WhatsApp? If you took a picture of touching the pavement with your group, then post it to the group. I don't know if everybody's on there. I didn't even know if I'm on there. The Dallas Book Distribution? We can make sure tomorrow. We can get on that. And we'll have more tomorrow. Time to discuss and adjust. There were gaps also. Found a lot of gaps, valuable gaps. One of the themes of our seminar together was finding the gaps. And Nityananda Prabhu, who started off the seminar yesterday, said that progressive people take criticism for breakfast. So we're trying to collect as many of the places where we went wrong so that we can correct them for the next MSF as much as possible. You were going to say one more thing?
Just regarding the point of the smart table. So the smart table here is our third largest book distributor every month.
Wow. Do you sell sets from there too?
Not yet. So
have you put them out there?
We've put Chaitanya Charitamrita, yeah.
And did you sell any?
Not yet.
Well, I noticed in New Vrindavan, where I actually noticed it for the first time about 15 years ago, the smart table, was that they have they've thought it through very carefully about how to present sets of Bhagavatams. So it's self-serve, or maybe not self-serve, but it's definitely thorough enough explanation and available enough that people could buy a set out there. So you might want to consider it. If there's any real estate left out there, you could engineer something that would sell sets also. And by the way, what's the third law of book distribution? You always say it twice though, right?
The more you show, the more you sell.
Yeah, and how many Bhagavatam sets will you sell if you don't show them?
Zero.
Approximately how many if you don't show any? It's approximately zero.
Nach means to dance. Nach. Re means oh. Say oh.
Oh.
Man, so man means mind. So in this stanza, which we'll repeat over and over again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, "Oh my mind, please dance. Oh my mind, please dance." You see, so Bhakti is so sweet because actually it's about the loving affairs of Krishna in the spiritual world. And when one begins to get a taste for the Hare Krishna mantra and hearing about Krishna, then the mind begins to dance, the heart begins to dance. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yam yam bhapi smaran bhavam tajat yante kalevaram tam tam evaiti konteya sadata bhavatam. Whatever your prominent impression, feeling is at the time when we leave this present corporeal body, you will attain facility in the next life according to what you're attracted to. The material nature is facilitated. And so the object really of yoga is to develop one's emotional attachment for Krishna. And the best way to do that is to take shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Karabhajana Muni says in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Deyam Sada Paripavaknama Vishtadokam Tirtasparam Shiva Vrinchi Nuktam Sharanam Vrityarti Ham Pranata Bhavam Pavati Potam Vande Mahapurushate Sharanadavindam. That you can meditate constantly on the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he'll deliver you from this material world. And also Narottam Das Thakur, the great Acharya, says, if you dive into the ocean of Sankirtan, you'll come out on the shores of the pastimes of Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan. So anyone can take shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's fit to be meditated upon. Nothing else in this world is fit to be meditated on. We saw a lot of shops today when we were driving around. I saw Hobby Lobby, and I saw a lot of gun shops, and I don't know, all kinds of things, but I really, nothing was aesthetically pleasing, and there's nothing that I could look at long enough to feel sad, or that I could be satisfied fixing my attention on. But
Karabhajana assures us that if you fix your mind on Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and keep doing it, you'll feel Abhishtadoham, your innermost desire will be fulfilled. Because he is Radha Krishna combined, and by taking shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one attains the ultimate goal of life, which is loving Krishna. So this song, it says, Nachari Arman, so let my mind dance. And then he says that normally when you chant Hare Krishna, there's offenses to be considered. But when you chant the names of Nitai and Gaur, there's no offense considered at all, because they don't take any offense at all. They deliver the most fallen. Even he mentions in the song that Nityananda Prabhu delivered Jagai Madai. And even though they did Madai, and blew Nityananda on the head with a clay pot, and caused bloodshed, he still went on delivering him. He's so merciful. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur advises that the main purpose of life is to get a taste for this chanting. And he says if you get a taste for it, then your life is successful. And if you don't get a taste for it, then your life is miche, which means useless. Don't waste your life, because its main purpose is to develop love for God. You can do so by chanting the holy names of the Lord. And he ends by saying in this song that by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at the end of this life, you'll have the darshan of Radha Krishna and Vrindavan. Everything is attained by worshipping Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I need this before the song. Doyal Nitai Chaitanya Nachriyam. So there's a tricky part with the, it's not tricky, but it's a special part with the cards also. So I'll show you this part. Yeah. Nachriyam Marma. Nachriyam Marma. Nachriyam Marma. Nachriyam Marma. Hey! Nachriyam Marma. Nachriyam Marma. Nachriyam Marma. Nachriyam Marma. Doyal. So we did the best we could today, all of us together, and whatever damage we did is permanent. It can't be taken back now. to the anarthas within our heart, they're severely damaged. People are still wondering what happened. We stopped by various places. They're still talking about it. It'll be a topic of conversation for a long time, especially since the books went inside. People we met in parking lots, they drove home with big stacks of books. People in shops, they weren't expecting anything. And we just showed up because Lord Chaitanya told us to. And that's a good reason to do anything in life. If you figure out what Lord Chaitanya wants, he tells you to do it, just go do it. And don't worry about the results, because it's all up to him after that. And then you got a happy life on your hands, if you just do that. So it's been a really feeling day today, being all together and doing this yajna. That experience of getting out on the freeway after we all left, knowing we're all headed different directions, 70 of us going to various places all around Texas and distributing books, was a monumental feeling that we'll never forget. I know I never will. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, everyone who participated. And you know what? We'll start all over again tomorrow. We'll get a little sleep, and then we'll wake up and we'll come out swinging. We'll swing for the fences again, right? Go Premanande.
Marman, Natari Marman, Natari Marman, Natari Marman, hey, Natari Marman, Natari Marman, Natari Marman, Natari Marman.